Now we got 8.5 minutes until the bell. Joining me for a big picture discussion, Sonders and Nate Peterson from the Schwab Center for Financial Research. Chief investment strategist, and Nate, director of derivatives analysis. Afternoon, guys. Nate, get us started with kind of a quick short-term technical thought, sir, as we pull back a little bit. On the charts, has anything changed majorly?
No, looks like a textbook correction in an overall, well, in Nvidia, I should say. We had a key reversal day last Thursday, pull back 16%, took Nvidia down to its 20-day simple moving average for the first time since early May. It coincided with the stocks going down to the 20 SMA, and then you're seeing a bounce. That's enough of an excuse, I think, to say, you know what, let's give this tech trade another try since we got enough of a pullback.
Okay, so a little mini baby pullback for a market that really hasn't seen much, right? Like, all the stats were getting pretty extended in terms of time gone without like major drops or anything, right?
Yeah, at least at the index level, there's obviously been a tremendous amount of weakness under the surface. You just don't see it at the index level. And I think another important thing Nate pointed out, the performance of Nvidia and where it went relative to moving averages. It's also the case the correlation between Nvidia and the S&P 500 has gone from 0.9 earlier in the year to recently below 0.2. It's hanging around 0.2 and change at this point. So it helps to explain why that move down in Nvidia didn't take the overall S&P down with it to anywhere near the same degree.
That's a really interesting stat because that definitely tells us that there's a possibility, of other things to maybe drive the action, but are they shaping up that way, Lizanne? And what needs to happen for some kind of meaningful rotation?
We have to remember that the largest stocks are not necessarily the best performing stocks. In fact, if you look at the Magnificent Seven as just a grouping of stocks, because everybody's generally familiar with what's in there, only one, and it's Nvidia, is in the top 10 best price performers within the S&P 500. You've got 3 utility stocks in the top 10. GE is in the top 10. Again, it's only Nvidia in that group. Now, when you multiply the price change with cap, that's where you get the dominant contribution to performance. But I think there's sometimes a lot of conflating that's happening in terms of the largest names being the best performers. It's a much more diverse list of strong price performers.
It's very interesting. The diverse list of price performers, though, kind of weakens when we get into a few of these cyclical groups like home builders that are getting hit. Regional banks have been pretty soft. There are these soft patches of stuff that seemingly is connected to the economy. Rest this week, we've got a pretty decent flow of data coming, Nate. So is this going to potentially shift a little macro, you think, in the second half of this week?
It seems like something shifted because in terms of those rate-sensitive areas of the market that would have more sensitivity to benign inflation data or more dovish Fed speak. And the reason I say that, look at what solar has been doing. Biotech has been doing a little bit better. That's been news driven. But the Russell, that money flow, that reactionary money flow, like when the 10-year is sitting down around 4.2, we really haven't seen that come back to the Russell there. So I think they're a little bit gun shy to go ahead and rotate. And then so the money continues to flow to, those 50 stocks. It's within technology, but it's also Eli Lilly, Costco, a lot of those types of names that just continue to perform well that we've seen the money flow go to. But look, we've got Russell rebalancing this week. We've got PCE. We're going to have Micron earnings. We have Nike earnings. There's definitely some catalysts that are on the radar. And the other thing I'd add is that we're in earnings warning season. We got a little taste of that from Pool last night, which I thought was a pretty severe readjustment to their guidance after they raised it in April. So we're in this period right now where, watch out, we could get some surprises.
No, good eyes on Pool, too. We've got that on our list this afternoon to talk about after the bell because it's kind of the underappreciated mover today. A whole home builder complex is under some pressure. Micron tomorrow, too. That could definitely be interesting. If we think about inflation, though, and the combination of inflation with the labor market, Lizanne, the last print we got from inflation was pretty solid. What do you think we should be looking for this week?
Well, ideally, we have another solid print. The math is such that it's unlikely that core PCE is getting down to the Fed's target anytime soon, which is why what happens in the labor market is increasingly in focus as maybe providing that allowance to the Fed to move to easier policy absent the move down near term in inflation. So this week, obviously, that would point to claims as an important indicator, particularly since it has moved up. And then the next monthly jobs report. One thing of note with regard to unemployment, and maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it's different this time because so many things have been different this time, but the unemployment rate has just ticked above its 36-month moving average. And that has been a consistent recession signal in the past. Again, there's a lot that's been different in this cycle relative to every other cycle. So I'm not saying, mark it in your books, recession is coming, but that turn up in the unemployment rate is notable.
That is key. A very good reminder and assessment there. So we now kind of really watch with kind of bated breath the employment data, because I know it seems like September basically is now like the highest odds, but given there's no August meeting, we can only do so much, I guess, with the data in terms of implying, Fed cuts and whatnot. But all right, I guess if things go terribly, then who knows what could happen in July. Thanks, guys. Good stuff. Nate Peterson, Lizzie and Sonders, excellent analysis. Appreciate it, their team.